Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 87, and we are discussing verses 43 through to 46. I understand. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'll just read the translations up until 46, which is the verse that we will speak on in more depth. It has the purport. 1087:43 translation. Thus the ancient saints who travel in the upper heavens distilled this nectarian and confidential essence of all the Vedas and Puranas. Those ancient saints are the four Kumaras who were discussing or describing the glorification, Krishna's glorification by the personified Vedas before creation, establishing the point that Krishna's glory, as given in the Veda, is not a material or mundane construction. It is eternal, existing before time. And so that discussion has concluded, and it was being told also to Narada Muni. So Narada Muni's being told, and as you wander the earth at will, my dear son of Brahma, you should faithfully meditate on these instructions concerning the science of the self, which burn up material desires for all men. So Narada Muni's been hearing this description, how the personified Vedas glorify Krishna before creation. It was discussed by the four Kumaras, and it was narrated also to Narada by Narayana Rishi. And Narayana Rishi's concluding his description with an instruction to Narada Muni. You should meditate on this. If you meditate on these prayers, there's a blessing, a Shruti Phala. Shruti Phala means the fruit of hearing. Many chapters of the Bhagavatam, they will conclude with Sukadeva Goswami giving a benediction. Anyone who hears this will achieve some particular result, some particular blessing. Anyone who hears how Vamanadev conquered the three worlds with 3 steps will overcome all enemies, I think is the blessing there. All obstacles, all enemies. Anyone who hears, anyway, so many narrations, they give a blessing at the end. At one point, I was thinking to create a Bhagavatam reference for different types of conditions. So there's a word for it in medicine. You look up the ailment and then, you look up the symptoms and then what the cure is. So this is the recommended cure. So Bhagavatam cures for different types of conditions. And so if we had an index of all the different Shruti Phalas, the outcomes that are promised, and then you get the instruction. Okay, you read chapter 7 of the 4th canto. You read this pastime, and it will, anyone who hears of Krishna's dancing with the gopis, there's a blessing there, will overcome mundane lust, the hridrogam, the disease of the heart will be cured. And so, kind of a diagnostic manual. You look up the condition that's afflicting you, and then go to the Bhagavatam section for your cure. It's a project I've meditated on for many years. I still need to put it in play. If any of you are inspired, we can collaborate. Okay. So here, Narad's being told, if you meditate on these instructions, it will burn up the material desires of all men. This is interesting. So Narada meditates, and then other men they're benefited. Why? Because Narada Muni is so influential. So when a leader develops a certain capability, then that benefit of that capability is shared widely with those that follow or are influenced by that leader. So for Narada to meditate on these instructions, it will burn up material desires of all men, because Narada Muni travels all throughout the universe. He meets kings, and he meets sages, and he meets hunters, and he meets all kinds of different characters, and he shares the news of the world. He's a journalist as well. He's a media source, the Narada Media Channel. He'll arrive in the king's court, and they'll say, Narada, what is happening throughout the universe? And Narada Muni, he's able to describe different events that are taking place. So purport, Narada, the son of Brahma, heard this account from Narayana Rishi. The epithet Brahma Dhyana also means that Narada attained Brahman effortlessly, just as if it were his inherited birthright. Well, it was. Krishna gave him that blessing, that in your next birth, you will be born as a son of Brahma, and you will be a liberated soul who travels throughout the universes, singing Krishna's glory. Verse 45. Now, Sukadeva Goswami is the speaker. Sukadeva Goswami said, when Sri Narayana Rishi ordered him in this way, the self-possessed sage Narada, whose vow is heroic as a warrior's, I love that, whose vow is as heroic as a warrior's, accepted the command with firm faith. What was the command? Meditate on these instructions. Now, successful in all his purposes, he thought about what he had heard, O king, and replied as follows. This response is very important. Narada Muni has heard the essence of the Vedas. This is what the Vedas sing outside of the universe, not for conditioned souls to be delivered, but this is how they glorify the Supreme Lord. This is how they describe reality. And after hearing all of that and meditating on it, Narada Muni will say something. What does he say? Verse 46, and we'll chant the Sanskrit. Sri Narada Uvacha Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishna Yamala Kirtaye Yodate Sarvabhutanam Abhavayoshati Kala. Gentlemen, we'd like to chant. Sri Naranuvacha Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishna Yamala Kirtaye Yodate Sarvabhutana
Abhavyosati Kala.
Kala. Wonderful. So, translation and purport. Sri Narada said, I offer my obeisances to him of spotless fame. This is Amala. Krishnaya Amala Kirtaye. Krishna, whose fame is spotless. There is no blemish to his fame. The Supreme Lord, who manifests his all-attractive personal expansions so that all living entities may achieve liberation. That's what he said. That's what he realized. That's what he understood. Let's read the purport. Srila Sridhara Swami remarks that Narada Muni's addressing Sri Narayana Rishi as an incarnation of Lord Krishna is perfectly appropriate. In accordance with the following statement of Srimad Bhagavatam 1:328. Etetam sakala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. all of the above mentioned incarnations, including Narayana Rishi, are either plenary portions or portions of plenary portions of the Lord, but Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. In his commentary on this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti has Lord Narayana Rishi asking, why do you offer your obeisances to Krishna instead of me, your guru, who is standing here before you? Narada explains his action by saying that Lord Krishna assumes all attractive incarnations like Sri Narayana Rishi to end the conditioned soul's material life. By offering obeisances to Lord Krishna, therefore, Narada honors Narayana Rishi and all other manifestations of Godhead as well. The prayer of Narada's is the essential nectar he has extracted from the personified Vedas prayers, which themselves were churned from the sweet ocean of the secrets of the Vedas and Puranas. As the Gopala Tapani Upanishad Purnava 5 recommends, Tasmat Krishna eva paro devas tam dhyayet, tam rasayet, tam bhajet, tam yajed, iti om tat sat. Therefore, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should meditate on him, relish the taste of reciprocating loving exchanges with him, worship him, and offer sacrifice to him. Yes. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Stop share. And there we are. So Narada Muni extracts the essence of the Vedas, offering his obeisances to Sri Krishna. Sometimes so let's say something about ISKCON BBT art. We have some beautiful ISKCON BBT art decorating the temple room walls here. And we appreciate the culture that Prabhupada has created. Not only did he establish temples all around the world, not only did he also established farm communities. Not only that, he also established schools. Not only that, he also established restaurants. Not only that, he also any one of these is an incredible accomplishment. Not only that, he published volumes of literature. Not only that, and we could keep going ad infinitum, making hundreds of thousands of people into devotees. Any one of these things is glorious. So one of the great glories is the art culture that Prabhupada established, illustrating the different pastimes, philosophical ideas, concepts described in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita in such a beautiful, wonderful way. Before I could read, the art was my way of understanding what the Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita were about. Of course, hearing from others as well, and sometimes taking the picture and asking an adult to explain what is this illustrating. So wonderful, wonderful art culture that Prabhupada established. And something unique and curious and sometimes criticized, mocked in this art, a unique feature is that all Vishnu forms, they have peacock feathers. You'll see Mahavishnu lying in the causal ocean, and yeah, he has a peacock feather. You'll see Paramatma standing in the heart. He has a peacock feather. You'll see the Sringadev roaring and tearing apart Hiranyakashipu, and he has a peacock feather. Very soft, beautiful, ornament, alankara, of Krishna in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, Krishna has a flute. So imagine if we have the Sringadev with a flute tucked in his belt as well, or Paramatma also has his flute and his buffalo horn. These are Vrindavan paraphernalia, Krishna's peacock feather. It is an expression of his love, the sweetness, intimate love of Vrindavan, that he carries that feather in his hair, dressed with gunja berries, dressed with mineral pigments from the forest, some feathers as well, some leaves, some forest flowers. That's how he dresses in Vrindavan, and he prefers that to all the opulent ornamentation of Vaikuntha. Bhagavatam 10th canto, the description of autumn, I think it is, describes how the peacocks, they hear Krishna playing his flute, they feel such love for Krishna hearing that, and they want to offer some dakshina, some bakshish, and so they offer their feathers to express their appreciation of Krishna's flute playing. And then Krishna, he feels such love for these peacocks. Look at their offering. They're giving me their peacock feathers. And so he takes the feather and he places it into his hair. So wonderful. So yeah, to a scholar, it might appear to be a technical, artistic era emerging of rasa, you might even say, rasa abas. But there is a point to this. And I understand Prabhupada wanted Vishnu to have the peacock feather and Paramatma and Nrsingadev. He wanted them illustrated this way because he has a philosophical point to make. This is Krishna appearing as Paramatma. This is Krishna expanded as Mahavishnu, creating universes. This is Krishna appearing as Narasimhadev. So when we see Mahavishnu, Paramatma, when we see Narasimhadev, we actually see Krishna. It's like when you see your friend in a play dressed up, and they have a different persona. They're speaking in a different voice. They're dressed differently. They might have a fake mustache or something. And you see that character, but you also see behind them, that's so-and-so. That's so-and-so playing. Maybe you have your favorite actor professionally, and you'll see them acting different roles, different characters, and different performances. So you see them in character, but you also see, yeah, that's so-and-so. My favorite actor, my favorite performer, my favorite dancer, whatever the case may be. So when we see these different incarnations performing different activities as Krishna Bhaktas, as students of Srila Prabhupada, as followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Bhagavatas, those who learn spiritual theology from the Bhagavatam, when we see all these manifestations of Godhead, we see Krishna. And so here, Narad Muni, after hearing all the Vedas speak and glorify God, and when I say God, I mean the creator, maintainer, destroyer, the source, the origin, the Karana, this cause of all causes. He's been described in these ways, these many different ways in the prayers of the personified Vedas. But at the conclusion of it all, he says, Namastasmai Bhagavate Krishnaya Amala Kirtaye. I offer my obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose glory is spotless. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, named Krishna. And so something most wonderful, a wonderful conclusion. He is giving us the essence of the Vedas. Offer your obeisances to Krishna, explicitly named Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then, of course, this reminds us, and it was quoted in the purport, Bhagavatam 1.3.28, Ete cham sakala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, which our acharyas explain as the Paribhasa Sutra of the Bhagavatam. That is the essential explanatory verse, the wall of the lotus from which the entire Bhagavatam is expanded. If there's one essential point to understand from the Bhagavatam, it's this: Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then that Krishna has expanded in so many different forms. He expands his energies, he expands universes. Those universes have different characteristics. There are kings and dynasties and all types of histories, and they experience different struggles and successes. All of that is described in the Bhagavatam. They take shelter of Krishna, they receive Krishna's glory, they forget Krishna, they challenge Krishna. All of that is there. The essential teaching to understand is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada, he made that the essence of all of his teachings, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj has wonderfully analyzed this and made it the central focus of his. He wrote a PhD thesis essentially on that phrase: Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He called it Prabhupada's great Mahavakya, his great pronouncement in all of his teachings. If you go to the Veda base, Tamal Krishna Maharaj must have done, because it's there in his thesis, he counts the number of times that Prabhupada mentions this phrase in his purports and conversations and lectures and letters, and it's 7,926, close to 8,000 times. Prabhupada says Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so, just as Shankara, he emphasized a certain phrase or some certain phrases of the Upanishads, and he called them Mahavakyas, the great pronouncements. Tattvamasi, thou art that, quite abstract pronouncement. That was one of Shankara's great Mahavakyas. It's there in the Upanishads, but Shankara accented it. He said, this is an essential teaching. And so Prabhupada's Mahavakya, Tamal Krishna Maharaj says, is this: Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tamal Krishna Maharaj analyzes, where does Prabhupada take this phrase from? What is the basis for, the scriptural basis for this phrase? Well, he suggests initially, the Gita mentions Purushottama, Purusha Uttama, Purusha, person, Uttama, supreme. Bhagavad Gita 8.1, Bhagavad Gita 10.15, 15.19, Krishna is referred to as Purusha Uttama, Purushottama. So that's an initial suggestion that Tamal Krishna Maharaj offers, but he dismisses it. He says, yes, it's there. 3 references in the Gita. That's not quite it. Then he says, how about the references to Bhagavan? Krishna is frequently described as Bhagavan, and Prabhupada would translate that as the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Personality has said, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Blessed Lord said, is Hagriva's rendering, but I believe Prabhupada wanted initially it was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna said. One reason why Bhagavan wouldn't be the primary basis for this pronouncement is Tamal Krishna Maharaj says that in the Bhagavatam, other people are also called Bhagavan, Bhagavan Narada, as an example. So sometimes the Lord, sometimes the devotee is also described as Bhagavan. Of course, Parashara Muni, he defines Bhagavan as Bhagyavan iti Bhagavan. The one with all opulence is Bhagavan. And then those opulences he describes as 6: unlimited fame, unlimited beauty, unlimited wealth, unlimited strength, and unlimited wisdom. We possess these qualities to a finite degree, some more than others. There's only one person who possesses them unlimitedly, and therefore only one person can be called as Bhagavan, and that is Krishna. That's Parasara Muni's argument. It's a wonderful argument. But there, he's actually a devotee of Narayan. Vishnu, he's the author of the Vishnu Purana. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he goes to this verse 1.3.28, the Paribhasa Sutra of the Bhagavatam, as the basis for Prabhupada's phrase. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This phrase, variations of this phrase were used by Bhaktivinoda Thakur before. The Supreme Person or the Supreme Truth or the Supreme Absolute, the Supreme Godhead. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati used that as well. None to the same extent. So yes, it is derived from Bhagavatam. It is derived from our Guru Parampara as well. But then Prabhupada, he takes this phrase as a brilliant communicator, amazing preacher, and he makes it a refrain. Haripurush Prabhu here, beautiful musician. So you have a refrain. Prabhupada makes it a refrain that he returns to throughout his preaching consistently. We can look at some others and see the power of having a phrase like that or a refrain like that, and the complex philosophical ideas that can then be communicated in a very consistent and simple, yet forceful and effective way. So some other phrases from Prabhupada, some ideas. Catchphrases that Prabhupada, philosophical phrases that Prabhupada repeats over and again to make basically you get it. Even if you're a hippie who's maybe not, maybe another one, right? You're not this body, you're spirit soul. Aham brahmasmi. So Prabhupada takes aham brahmasmi and he says, you're not the body, you're spirit soul. He says it over and over and over again. And then it becomes a simple, easily repeated, and somehow easily understood philosophical point. Part and parcel, okay, that's more complex, more abstract, but Prabhupada does use that. Yeah, part and parcel of Krishna. Another one I would suggest is back to Godhead. Back to Godhead. Prabhupada made his magazine, Back to Godhead magazine. And so what's the goal? What's the the direction for all of this practice. What's the objective? What are we doing this for? And it's very simple. Go back to Godhead. We're going back to Godhead. By doing this, you can be eligible to go back to Godhead. And so a very abstract and difficult philosophical idea, Prabhupada simplifies with back to Godhead. Another one is devotional service. Consistently translates bhakti not as love, which would be okay as a translation, not just as devotion either, because that's a sentiment, but then he makes it devotional service, which then is active and applied. You have the feeling, you have the action, devotional service. By rendering devotional service, we are going to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We will go back to Godhead. Yeah, we can string these, these together. And there's so much to unpack. You're not the body, you're spirit, soul. By rendering devotional service to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you'll develop, here's another one, Krishna consciousness. That's another phrase Prabhupada uses consistently, repeatedly, Krishna consciousness. And he made his institution, he made his society, the International Society for Krishna consciousness. So that's another thesis. Where does Prabhupada get that phrase, Krishna consciousness, from? Ravindra Swarup Prabhu has written on that. Yeah, beautiful analysis. So, Krishna consciousness, another one of these simple but profound philosophical phrases that Prabhupada uses. And when you analyze them, you see what a master communicator he is, how he's able to distill the essence of the Gaudiya Vaishnava teaching, the Gaudiya Vaishnava theology, rather than fluffing it out and using obscure terms and words that no one will understand. He essentializes, distills, crystallizes, and then repeats. Consistently repeats, and then it penetrates through the layers of conditioning. You start to catch some phrases and you understand philosophical points that philosophers studying the Vedas don't understand because there's just too much complexity in their minds when you read. So a scholar might look at what Prabhupada's doing and say he glossed over so much nuance in doing this. And that may be a valid critique, but there's something else achieved. People become Krishna conscious. So gloss over the nuance, go to the essence. Somebody else that wants to get into the nuance, fine. But let them first understand the essence of what is being taught here. And the first thing to understand is Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are not your body, your spirit, soul. We're stuck in the material existence. And by practicing devotional service, we in the Bhakti Center often use bhakti more frequently. Prabhupada would say devotional service. By practicing devotional service to Krishna, then your original Krishna consciousness can be reawakened and we can return back to Godhead. And so here Narada, he's bringing us the essence of the Vedas. He's offering his obeisances to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And, I realize that time has moved on. So yeah, what does this phrase give us? What does this insight give us? Clarity. We can be thankful to Narad Muni. We can be thankful to Prabhupada for giving us this very distilled, essential, spiritual understanding that confuses most Hindus, like, who's God? You read all the Vedas and there's so many gods. Maybe we're all God. We can be grateful. We get clarity here. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even in other spiritual traditions, when they have an understanding of God as great, when you hear Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's so much to unpack and to meditate on and to engage the mind. When we see the different pastimes, Ram, Narasimha, Mahavishnu, Paramatma, we also think Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by meditating on this, we are purified. By meditating on this, we are meditating on the essence of all Vedic teaching. And our heart and mind and prayers and consciousness can be guided, elevated, purified, as Narada Muni is told, by meditating on this. All right, we will conclude there and open up for any comments, reflections. We'll start with Adi Purush Prabhu. We'll hand over to Jani Tai Prabhu, and then we have Krishna Kumari and Vid as well.
All right. Hare Krishna, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
So, of course, the sparkling, superb class perfectly established Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The verse establishes it, 7,900 references establish that. There's not much to say. Prabhupada would sometimes use the word Purva Paksha. Is that the right term? Purva Paksha. On the other hand, the verse is about if you hear this story or you hear from this person who's glorifying Krishna and clearly explaining what to do, then you become, like Prabhu said, purified and every way benefited. On the other hand, just a small pastime, one time when I was about 7 years old, we moved to Long Island and I was exploring the backyard and I came across, I didn't know where our yard ended in the next yard. I came across a herd of ducks, these big white ducks. Mm-hmm. And they all came running to me, I guess, because usually people came out there and feed them. And so they think I'm going to be feeding them. And so I was playing with the ducks and this old woman came, the owner of the property next door. Her name is Mrs. Basile. And of course, when we lived in the Bronx, my grandmother was right nearby, my other grandmother was, and whenever I would go into their place, they would give me ginger ale. Just like very refreshing and, just a gesture of welcome. And so I saw this old woman, Mrs. Basile, and we introduced ourselves and I thought, old woman, grandmother, ginger ale, right? I said, Mrs. Basile, I'm thirsty. So she brought me in her house, probably hadn't had an open window in about 20 years or something, a stinky old house. And I don't know if she was in the habit of bathing or whatever. And we went into this hot little cubbyhole of a kitchen. And she opened the refrigerator, which was also kind of stinky, and there was no ginger ale. There was this water, which was also kind of foul smelling. And so I was kind of like, she was between me and the entrance to the kitchen. So I was kind of like, in one sense, trapped, drinking this smelly water in this smelly kitchen with this smelly lady. And so I thought, elder, if you hear from the sage who's full of the glories of the Lord, then you're uplifted and purified and enlightened. And I said, Mrs. Basile, tell me about life. We get our perspective from those around us. So she said, life is like a big glass of vinegar. And in the bottom of the glass, there's a little bit of jelly. And you're trying to get to the jelly. But you have to drink all this vinegar. That's what life is like. And I was like 7 years old and, she was depressed and depressing. And what she had to say was so hopelessly, without God, we just heard Raghunath Prabhu saying, without Krishna, and the whole universe is just this dark place with rocks and dust and meaningless and hopeless. And the only thing you're looking forward to is death and maybe your next bowel movement or something. So what's the use of life? Mrs. Basile was like so depressed, and I was just smothered. I mean, I'm telling you, I almost choked with hearing this depressing person presenting such a hopeless idea of what life is like trying to get the jelly in the bottom of the glass that's so full of vinegar, you know. And so somehow or other, I had a little bit of God consciousness because I'd been to Catholic school, and I almost perished. I almost fainted from that situation, which is the opposite of hearing from an enlightened devotee with faith. And I said, what about God? I just had one tiny little shred of light because I was so depressed. So Purva Paksha means if you hear from the devotees, you'll develop encouragement, enlivenment, joy and hope and faith, and you'll be purified and you'll be satisfied, and you'll understand where we're going with all this. But if you hear from people who have no faith, there's the opposite effect. Anyway, I'm not sure if that's a contribution to the class, but it didn't leave much to add except the Purva Paksha. Johnny Tarver, would you?
Hare Krishna, just wanted to say thank you very much, Prabhu, for highlighting that point about the peacock feather. I hadn't noticed that, so I was thinking, really? So I was looking online and I saw Vrindavan. It's not there on all of them, the BBD pictures, but the primary ones in there is on Vishnu and Lord Nrsingadev. So it was like, okay, that's interesting. It's like one of those things you don't notice until it's highlighted, and now you'll see it and I'll see it everywhere. The other thing was something that always intrigued me and kind of bewildered me also was the term Godhead, which is like, what is that? Where is that from? So because you brought it up, then I kind of looked it up, but I didn't know if there's time if you wanted to expand on the term Godhead. Well, I looked it up, which I've never done before. I've just always accepted it as a term. Understanding it means like but when you say the supreme personality of Godhead, for some reason and for me it creates this visual of a table with all the gods sitting at it, and he's the supreme personality of the Godhead. So there's like an organization. But what I saw online is that actually Godhead is a Christian term. It's very much a Christian term that is found in the Bible. And so somehow Prabhupada has incorporated that in there. And it literally just means the divinity of the divine one, or it could mean a great person, an elevated person. So it doesn't have all that mystique around it, but the supreme personality of basically God.
Thank you for that.
I should say that I had the opposite response to that.
We have 3 heads here at 1 minute. Krishna Kumari, we saw your head, I think, first. So,
My
Haribol, Hare
ones,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One was achieve. Every other page is chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Yeah.
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Right.
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Thank you for that. So Prabhupada is always getting us to chant the Mahamantra. And we have the deity curtains about to open. So Shri Shri Radha Muralidhara Ki Jai.
Jai Shri Damodar Gaur Chandra Bhagavan ki jai. Jai Prabhupada ki jai. Lotus feet, the right spirit, the master. The only way by which you can obtain pure devotional service. I bow down to the lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By His grace, one can considerate the pure suffering and obtain mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my conscience purified by the words emanating from His own mouth. Attachment to the lotus feet is the perfection of fills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with candle of beloved. He is my Lord both after birth. From an ecstatic praises, my ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing His character. Our spiritual masters, the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, the Lord has our fools. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us a shade in your lotus feet. May your face flow over the free world. We take shelter of lotus feet. Prabhupada ki jai, jai, jai.
Jaya Prabhupada.
Thank you, Janitai Prabhu. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Welcome to the Afterglow. Adipusha Prabhu, are you here? Adipusha Prabhu really threw me off with this Purva Paksha story. It was such a wonderful class, but all I can remember is that Miss Bazil. Yeah. Okay, would anyone like to speak? Min, is it still relevant? You wanted to ask Sri Prahlad?
I just had a question. I've been asking this question to some devotees, and I can't really get a right source. My question is, we hear, so yesterday, Adipusha was looking at the paintings in the temple, and Sri Prahlad also mentioned the images, that came out of that were made during Prabhupada's time. And I'm trying to locate or find a book or sources or resource where I could actually see or hear Prabhupada speaking about, maybe in detail, instructions to the artist about how to make images, spiritual images. I don't know if anyone knows where I could look into. Because, we if we wanted to cook, for Krishna, there are books that we could look into. If we want to do some, learn kirtan or something, there are resources there, but I haven't come across any good resource for making images.
What's the devotee's name? It's Mataji. She was an artist.
Jadurani.
Jadurani, yes. So
Rama.
Jadurani's memories could be a good source of that.
Okay.
And Srila Prabhupada, he instructed no muscles. So that's one,
Right.
no muscles. And early devotees, in the early days, devotees depicted Lord Chaitanya as a woman. The devotees thought Lord Chaitanya was a woman, and Srila Prabhupada had to correct them. No, Lord Chaitanya is not a woman. Just two quick ones for you, man. And then
Okay.
Jadurani's memory.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
I think there is a Back to Godhead article, but I just put into the Veda base how to paint, and it's an Apandal lecture. The first one is, if you want to paint one nice flower, I have to arrange for this so many things. Prabhupada talks about, you could probably find there are descriptions for painting.
So you plug this in database,
I
Krishna?
plugged it into Veda base, yeah,
Okay.
how to paint.
Okay.
And there's many things, but I think there is a BTG article. And then yeah, definitely Shamarani or Jadurani. She has the most beautiful center in Miami Beach. My daughter went to it recently, and it's like in the art district, and it attracts many people, and she lives there. It's a very wonderful place.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. I have a family in Miami, so when I visit, maybe I could visit there. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, Jadurani. But the main thing is to be a devotee. Even if something isn't perfectly drawn or composed, if it's done with love and devotion, that's the essence of it. Not necessarily the artistry. It can be very artistic, but if there's no devotion and if it's not made by a devotee, then what's the use? Like we say, if there's no love and devotion, what's the use? Thank you for the flying heart. Would anyone else like to speak?
Well, there's one pastime where Jadurani was painting. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
She was painting a picture of Paramatma. Men, you know that picture of Paramatma, the Lord in the heart?
Yes.
So she said, Prabhupada, it says he's seated in the heart. Is he standing or is he sitting? So Prabhupada looked at his heart. He is standing. He looked at his heart and he told her he is standing. So she painted him standing up on the lotus of the heart. But the point is, just like if you have electricity coming from an outlet, you can plug in the light and it will light. Or if there's an extension cord and you plug the light into the extension cord and the extension cord's in the outlet, you get the same electricity. So these people are still there. Rameshwara, who received some chastisement and some instructions about the paintings and the books because he was involved with the publishing. Jadurani, she's still there. You can talk to them about what Prabhupada told them. Of course, you might want to just go to something online, but the personalities are still there. And ultimately, whatever our service is, we're servants of the servant of the servant. So it comes down to really, if we know who we're serving and we say, what should I do? How should I do it? I'm doing like this. Do you like it? Then we know I'm pleasing the servant of the servant, so I'm pleasing Prabhupada. You know, you might say, oh, well, how like access Prabhupada? Access might be by something that Prabhupada recorded, or it might be by someone who's present right now, who you are taking shelter of, and who you are offering your artistic talent to. And there's a lot of, oh, I don't know. Where are you? Men, where are you?
I'm in Queens, but what I'm in Jersey a lot, actually, for the most part. I am in Jersey, but
Well,
I come back to New York because that's where I have
do you
my
ever come to the Bhakti Center?
uh not very often. I've only been there a handful of times, actually.
Okay, we have some artistic paintings to show you done by people we know, and I have something to share about that. Anyway, if you come through, give us a call and we'll
Okay, all
share
right,
it
that
with
would be
you.
wonderful.
It's
All
a
right.
really good question. And are you pleasing someone? Are you offering to someone? Are you have someone um, acknowledging, yes, this is good, or offering an adjustment? Without that, we're kind of like without a rudder, you know. Anyway, I'm maybe talking too
Yeah.
long. I'll go to
No,
Srila
yeah,
Prabhupada.
it's very helpful. I have making some images for a teacher for his altar for his meditation, and that's been
Fantastic.
really, really great. And I'm starting to make larger images, and I'm praying a lot to Krishna and Radha to really show me. But yeah, it would be nice to come to Bhakti Center and see those work and maybe hear from you. That would be great. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, I'll go to Prabhupada.
Thank you, Min. That is so inspiring to hear how fired up you are in devotional service. Hare Krishna. Okay, Sammy Long, Jai Jagannath, please recite the mantra so we can complete the yagya. Sammy.
Hello. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you.
That was perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you very much. Okay, Om Tat Sat. Happy Sunday. We love you. We need you. Krishna is real. Hare Krishna.